Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Super Pros Bros. I'm Player 2, Eli, and with me, as always, is...
Player 1, Ike.
Way to keep up the energy.
You're welcome, bro Daniel Lewis.
Bro Daniel.
It works. Trust the system.
I'm going to say, under no scrutiny, yes, it functions.
Sorry if I'm down. I'm suffering from writer burnout. Which is, curiously, our first topic of the week. That is called a setup.
Now he finds the energy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Professor, for teaching the class.
I think you've used that one already.
I think I
docking
have,
points.
but it fits here, and I'm going to reuse it. Some things work twice.
How nice.
Come on, I gave it the extra flourish, so for teaching the class, at least, give me this.
Okay.
Yeah,
No negative points, just no points.
I'll take the neutral. But, I think it's, to actually be serious, get on to it. I mean, burnout's an awkward topic to talk about, I think.
True dat.
Because it's one of those things that is unanimously felt by everyone. Like, everyone to some degree experiences burnout on something. I mean, if you just grind away indefinitely, you are going to burn the fuck out. It's gonna happen.
And I think when we're talking about writer burnout, we're also not including it as the same, but in the same kind of problematic wheelhouse as burnout, as, not coming up with something to write, and, just that general laziness.
Feeling devoid of drive.
Yes, dat. The engine's got no gas.
Yeah.
So, Broskinkowski, how do you deal with having no pick-me-up in your giddy-up?
That depends on largely if we're dealing with things the healthier way or the bad way. And I think this is one of those things where you can kind of fall into a bit of a trap with denial and not want to admit that there's anything wrong. Have you had anything like that kind of experience?
Yeah, I've just
you know it's an issue, but you don't want to say that it's an issue because that makes it more tangible and more real.
Yeah, and the worry, it's kind of interesting because in my experience, when you don't want to say anything and you don't say anything, you actually make it more real than if you do say something.
100%. And so if I'm in that place where I won't acknowledge its existence and just pretend everything is fine and okay and dandy, I'll realize I'm drinking like 500 milligrams of caffeine per day because otherwise I just don't move.
Yep.
Which I really doesn't sound that bad, but that's like kind of rough on your heart if you do that for extended periods of time. But I mean, the more extreme kind of version of that you'd see a lot of people do is like cocaine.
Cocaine?
Cocaine. But like even today, for people that have like that kind of nonstop demand to perform, like and demand to output, that's still widely used, and it's a really unhealthy coping mechanism. But people do it because it works. I mean, just for God's sake, look at the fucking restaurant industry. Not to go too far on a tangent, but it's like there's a demand you do this, and you work outrageous fucking hours sometimes, depending on what you do. And so, fuck tons of people use tons of cocaine to stay on their feet for, 10, 12 hours. So different venue, but like, famously, Stephen King did just a fucking ton of blow.
Yeah. To the point where he doesn't remember...
He does not remember writing Cujo.
Front to back.
Like, at all. Which he said is very sad, because he actually thinks it's a pretty good book.
By the way, to backtrack a skosh, 1 cup of coffee is under 100 milligrams, so that is
One,
over 5 cups of coffee is equivalent to
1 cup of coffee is about 60 milligrams, 60 to 80 milligrams of caffeine.
According to one 8 fluid ounce cup of coffee is 95 milligrams.
That's some fucking strong coffee.
Hey, look, man, Google came to play.
All right, Google's swinging hard. But yeah, 5 shots of espresso. There are plenty of people who do more caffeine than that, but it's not ideal. It's more than most people would ever recommend you take.
One of my friends was drinking in and around this much coffee and was having some health difficulties and did go see his doctor. And his doctor was like, are you doing methamphetamines? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And he goes, no. He's like, how much coffee do you have a day? And he's like, oh, about like 6 cups or something. He's like, oh, okay. Stop or you're going to die. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, your liver is quitting on you like you're like just pounding from the keg. Like you need to knock that shit off. Like you are putting your liver through the Olympics on the daily basis, and it isn't that kind of warrior anymore. So just fucking knock that shit off.
Do you want to hear the fucking wild? This is a complete aside from Ryder Burnout. I promise we'll get back to that. But this I have to include this because it's too on topic. There's a woman at my office. I shit you not. This is her regular fucking caffeine consumption that I watched her do days in. And as far as I know, she still does. She works in a different department now. She would start the day with like 4 shots of espresso from Starbucks.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's how we started. She might have coffee on top of that. In the afternoon, she'd have a Rockstar.
As you do.
On some days, she would have 7 shots of espresso and still have that Rockstar. If you're fucking counting at home, that's like 700 milligrams of caffeine. That bitch had so much going through her body. I think she needed it to function at a certain point. Because, Jesus Christ.
Fun fact, the kind of max out top for healthy amounts of caffeine is 400 milligrams, which is either 4 cups of brewed coffee, 10 cans of cola, which you're going to have another problem other than the caffeine on that one because the sugar intake is going to... Spell it with me now. Diabetes. Or 2 energy drinks is apparently 400 milligrams, which is...
It depends on the brand.
Yeah, it obviously depends on the brand, but just by and large, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I dare say 7 shots of espresso plus an energy drink is going leaps and bounds over that 400 mil.
And she was not a big person. Like I'm much bigger than she is. I'm just like, what the fuck?
So you're saying you could take her?
Oh yeah, comes down to it. I got this in the bag.
Doesn't matter how much espresso she has.
Unless it's giving her some superpowers, I'm golden. Cold brewed superpowers. I regret nothing. But back to the serious topic. And so like it's people would hear that as like it's not substance abuse really. I mean it's caffeine. You can't really abuse the substance, but it's like. The problem is, like, I just... That's one thing, and then she's trying! But I'd treat myself like garbage. Because I was just kind of unconsciously taking it out of myself. Because I just wouldn't accept, like, this is a problem.
Yep.
And so it's like, that kind of first place to start, I guess, backpedaling is... You gotta see it as a problem. Like, you gotta just kind of acknowledge that it's there. It's like, I'm feeling a bit toasted.
Yep.
I'm kind of burnt.
I don't feel like writing. I think I suck at writing. I don't like writing right now. These are all things that one or both of us has felt.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't mean that you're not a writer. It doesn't mean just because you stop writing for a time period doesn't mean you weren't a writer. Doesn't mean that you won't be a writer. Doesn't mean that you aren't a writer who's taking a break. These are all fine things. The only problem here, it sounds like, if I'm hearing you correctly and understanding the problem myself, is not and it's pretending it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So here's a fun thought. And this works with a lot of things. All right, you get in a car.
Okay.
How do you get there?
To my car?
So you sit down in the car.
Yep.
How do you get where you're going?
Key goes in the ignition.
Okay, but how do you get there?
I'm getting confused.
The point is,
I'm a simple man.
Where are you going? You don't know where you're going yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I ask you to drive me to the place, like, well, what fucking place?
Yeah.
So if you don't start and acknowledge, like, okay, I feel this way, like, you can't be inauthentic to it. And that doesn't mean you can't push through or power through, but you can't just ad infinitum perpetually ignore it. Like, you can't.
Okay.
And you can, it's okay, like, easy example, like, you can be sore and go to the gym. You know, if you have strong constitution. But, like, you can hurt and go to the gym. Like, you know, you can be tired and fucking drag your ass to work. Like, you can do things and push through obstacles. No one's saying you can't, or that you can't feel a bit burnt out and just fucking look in a mirror, slap yourself a few times in the face, splash water, just and get to it. But denying that you feel a certain way, in general, not just for burnout, but in general in life, is very rarely a good thing, if ever.
Yeah.
And feelings...
Says the man with a psychology degree.
Yeah, I'm
and years of therapy.
And here we go. Yeah, it's like... And so it's one of those things that it seems come up, especially in artistic expression, or like anyone who wants to go on any kind of artistic venue, is that you feel that kind of burden of criticism and that expectation to perform, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And
so it is...
And the best part of that expectation is where it comes from. Or the most important thing to realize is where it comes from. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Which is myself.
It's all you. Like,
yeah.
If you ever get to the point where you actually have critics levying criticism at you, baller, you've got an audience. And it's one of those, like, you know, don't put the horse before the cart. Like, initially...
You said that...
With the cart. Yeah, I totally said that backwards. You should always put the horse before the cart. Don't put the cart before the horse. I realized after I said, like, that sounded weird.
We're professional writers, and we fucked up in one of the most well-known idioms.
I'm published. I've actually been published and paid. Not much, but still.
Count it. Scoreboard.
Bought me a sandwich. But yeah, and then you are your own most damning critic, almost without fail.
It's kind of like what we were talking about when we were talking about horror movies and monsters. The one of the best uses of monsters in movies is the ones that you see in shadow, or that it takes the longest to show, because we create a monster far larger and far more terrifying than could ever exist. Same with criticism of our own work and criticism of ourselves as writers, as creators, as artists, is we're just, nobody is going to run you over the coals worse than you will ever do yourself.
No.
Unless your name is Donald Trump, and then nobody is going to run you over the coals because the people that do, you don't think exist.
I got weirdly political, but we'll take it.
I mean, he's just the best example of a megalomaniac who just, like, he's the
Dunning-Kruger effect come to life.
Yeah. But I mean, it just, like, anytime something wasn't, you know, there's interviews with people who've interacted with him who were friends with him. He loved them. He talked on their behalf like they were ballers. The second they've put any doubt, anything of ill repute in his even general direction, they're the worst, they're losers, like they're not even worth listening to. He just buried them underneath his, like...
Under the bus.
Just firmly just... Yeet! And just, like, tossed them. It's just like, I just, like, can't... The idea of criticism of him just, like, cannot exist in his world.
Yeah, no. But I'm willing to bet that the overwhelming majority, thank God, do not think like him.
Yes.
And provided that you don't,
here's what we'd recommend.
You probably have some of those feelings of some of the self-conscious, worrying, nagging voices going, "It's not good enough. I'm terrible. I'm dog shit. I should stop doing this. No one cares.
You suck. You should quit.
Give up. It's pointless. What's the
Who are you to write this? Is this what you call writing?
It's garbage. Math garbage.
Math cabbages.
Exactly. And it's totally fucking normal. And it's like one thing no one wants to talk about, because everyone kind of swallows that and like wants to put out this kind of
I'm fine.
I'm missing a word for what I want to say, but like they put out this air of like, oh no, everything's going swimmingly. It's perfect. I'm awesome.
I think it backtracks to the way we interact socially in this country too.
Sure.
I walk up to you. How are you doing? What is your response? It doesn't matter if you're on fire. I'm fine. Dude, you're missing a leg.
This
I'm
is
fine. Yeah. You're just the black. Everybody's just the Black Knight from freaking Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's just like, we'll call it a draw. I'm fine. You cannot pass. Dude, you're missing all your arms and legs. Call it a draw. It's like, no. You need medical attention.
No. And it's like one of the things, and what the problem is that with self-criticism and that those worrying thoughts is oftentimes the phrasing, because it so often turns from so if you write something and it's bad, and if you're ever going to write anything, you're going to write something that's bad.
Nobody bats 100.
Nobody bats 100. Well, I mean, it's also like if you start anything, you're gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like by and large, like if I got on a skateboard, I'm gonna eat shit because I don't skateboard regularly, and so I'm just gonna ass over tea kettle, eat the pavement.
Bite the curb.
Yeah, bite the curb. Like, but should I give up skateboarding? Well, no. You biffed. You ate shit. It happens.
I don't know. At your age.
I'm younger than you.
I didn't say I shouldn't give up skateboarding too. Those notions drifted away from me decades ago.
Fuck you. Anyway.
No, but you're absolutely right. It's like, I mean, I don't know if we talked about it on this podcast, but we've talked about it between ourselves a million times, which is the story of Stephen King, where he talked about success. Stephen King started writing towards the end of his time in high school, and when he started submitting things for, to get published, he got,
rejection letters.
Rejection letters. I was going to say no thank you letters. Rejection letters. So way polite. Nicer than they are. No thank you letters. That's what we're going to call them from now on. He received a lot of no thank you letters, and to the point where because he didn't care about his parents' house, put a nail in the wall and started sticking them through the nail as like you would as a short order cook at a diner. All right, orders up, and just like doing that to the point that he got so many. Stephen King, one of the best American writers of all time, for many people's, dollar, got so many no thank you letters that it pulled the nail out of the wall.
Yeah, just so much paper.
So much paper. It's like one of the best of all time. Got that many to the point where, fell out of the wall. And so instead of, what he did, and this is why he's the best and why, other than the Coke, probably a good, lighthouse to follow, is instead of being like, oh man, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it, which I mean, he might've been looking at some of his work and like retooling it, but instead of being like, oh, he got a bigger nail and just
a railroad spike, I think.
Oh, that's baller. I just stuck it in the wall.
Bang.
I just started going back to it.
Through.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And so to my earlier point, like saying that this is a bad piece of writing, because you'll have bad pieces of writing or things that you write and you go, I fucking hate this. It's garbage. The problem becomes when you think that you're the garbage, and that I'm the problem and I'm what's bad. And I think that's probably what quickest burns you out. If you can backpedal and think about it, especially from an artistic venue, because if you're doing it right, you're putting yourself out there, right? Because you're doing something that means if it means nothing else to anybody else, it means something to you. It's yours. You made it. It's part of you. You know, it's an extension of your voice and your mannerisms, your sense of humor, your whatever. You know, so it is some weight to you. You like it, and so. But if people don't like it, what does that say about them liking you? And I think it's one of those things that throws people into that spiral that quickly burns people out. And the second that rejection letters actually fly in, it is brutal.
I mean, it's like a transitive property, right? Like, we associate what we do with ourselves, which is and isn't true. It is something we have done. It is ownership. In that way, it is ours. But it's not a representation. Like, people can hate art, love an artist, or love the art and hate the artist. Like, for instance, hot take, I think Kevin Spacey is a great actor. He's also an enormous Mars-sized planet of dicks. He is a terrible, like, disgusting monster of what used to be maybe a human being. The guy is bleh. That's what he is. Did he make amazing shit?
Baller moments on screen.
That guy can act. He was great. Is great. I don't know, whatever. You know, it's like there's that. Do I like any of the Madea movies? Fuck no. That being said, the human being that... What the hell? Who's the guy that created it?
Tyler Perry?
Tyler Perry. Amazing person. You know, what he's done with the movies and those opportunities allotted him, he has been very much a humanitarian as well as an artist. As much as I am not inclined to call that art of my preferred nature, it is still art. And through that, he has done amazing things for a lot of people.
He will wipe his tears with his hundreds.
Yeah, he'll be like, oh no, the super pro is supposed to like me.
As he sits on his couch of money.
Yeah. Dude, if I esteem to one day have that kind of coin, and if I do, I'm going to make a couch out of actual money.
Paper mache it together.
Dude, oh yeah, baby.
Oh yeah.
How much is this couch worth? Fucking just take
$4.5 million.
Yeah, it's the most expensive couch in the world, bitch.
They're going to need to print a higher denomination to outvalue this couch.
It might not be comfy, but boy, do I feel like a baller laying on it. I just need to go see my chiropractor. Stiff as a board. But it's very important to not, just because somebody's and sometimes also I've noticed when little clue in for the listeners out there, before we do our podcast, generally speaking, we do a writer's room where we exchange what we've written. Mm-hmm. And for the last long period of time, I haven't been writing anything because I've been experiencing this in a big way, but have recently got back to writing stuff. Woo! But there are times, we share each other's ideas. And even when it's my brother, love him, I know he has my best intentions at mine and wants my art to succeed. Even sometimes, if I'm not in the right moment or in the right headspace, or it's particularly, it's a line that I really liked, it takes a moment. Yeah, it fucking can cut deep when you're like, this is the shit. I fucking love this, this turn of phrase or whatever. Sometimes I use the wrong word because my English ain't so great. Sometimes he's just not the biggest fan, and that he's just giving me his opinion on it. It's like, this doesn't really work for me. And to be an artist, you got to take that in at, whatever value you want to give it, and just hear it. Because the most important, unless you want to be in an echo chamber of only your own ideas, you need to get other people's ideas so that you can make art better for everybody. Because I think you were telling me this. First draft is for you. Yeah. The second draft is for the world.
Yeah. First draft, the way I saw it written was first draft, you write for yourself, you edit for other people.
Yeah.
Which I think it's very true. And as someone who wrote a bad first book, as I look back at it and go, Jesus fucking Christ, and got the 100-odd rejection letters in actual print, and then a bunch of just other no replies, it hurts. And it hurts having dissenting opinion, and it hurts feeling and fearing that kind of imminent pending rejection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who is thinking about it, fear and that kind of apprehension shouldn't govern why or why not you go for it. Like, that despondency and worrying over what if, or just because someone didn't like it, shouldn't dictate it. And not everyone is cut out to do everything perfect. Like,
yep.
I love video games. I'm never going to be a professional video game player. I don't have the fucking hands for it. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
And I say this is somebody who loves fucking esports, and I played video games since I was like 16. It's never happening. Not a fucking chance.
Well, it's not only not just happening because you don't have the hands for it, you don't have the stomach for it. Right? Like, you're not willing to put yourself out there.
I'm going to say, at this point, no. Like, I'm not at a place where I really try and go head first for it, because like I don't have the money to fall back on to gamble for it.
Well, not only that, but what I'm saying is, like, the reason we're going for writing is because we love it, that even though it is still, because it's not likely. Yeah. We're not doing this because it's a likely outcome. We're doing this because we love it, that we're willing to gamble on it, because even if it happens 1 in a million times, that gamble is worth it. Now, we're not living underneath a bridge writing in our own shit and then freezing it and sending off to some freaking producer or so, and like that. We are writing on paper. We do have day jobs, and this is something that we do in whatever spare time we can find to cobble together. If I got a response
for the shit script, I'd be so surprised.
Very innovative. It smells of good things.
It smells like potential.
Oh, very boy. Aromatic.
You can really feel it.
But I mean, the reason we're going for this isn't because it's likely, it's because it's worth it.
Yeah.
The love for this, and like it very much did we talk about this before, of like the reason you go for something isn't because it's likely, it's because you love it.
It's because you want. It's because you feel like you have to, or like feel like you'd be doing a disservice not to try.
Yeah. There was somebody, I think it was Bukowski, on his gravestone. It's written, "Don't try." Yeah, and like there's a couple of actors or people like that have been interviewed, and like the most important thing to them is to like be tenacious. There was some guy that when interviewed, he said, "You shouldn't do it." And like somebody's like, "Wow, isn't that mean to say that, to an aspiring actor?" And he goes, "No, because the people that are going to follow this career and that have a chance are the people that are going to hear that and go, 'Fuck you,' and they're just going to do it anyway. The people that hear that and go, 'Oh, okay,' and leave, they never had a chance to begin with. So this is going to like be at best a powerful learning experience, and at worst life altering and or ruining. So by doing this, I'm doing them a favor." It's just like, oh, holy shit. It's just like, yeah. So if you can't need training wheels to attempt this kind of lifestyle. You can't need this is going, you just get in this lane, you follow it up. Like it can't be like a progression system. Like you start as a waiter and then you're, the maitre d' and then you're the manager. Like there can't be a clear line. You can't need that for this to be a field for you.
No.
This is the way I have kind of started to understand it, at least from my perspective.
I'm gonna say I don't know that it's. I feel there's a little bit more leniency than that, maybe, but I do think it's true. Like it's to a degree, kind of you're in or you're out in many ways.
I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it has to be binary. I mean, look at what we're doing. We both have effectively 9 to 5 jobs. Like every waking hour that isn't doing that. You have a relationship. We both game a lot. Like there is a lot of other things that we're doing. We're not just like, it isn't a binary thing where every waking moment where I wasn't, earning money to keep a roof above my head. Like, it doesn't have to be like that.
I'm sorry. I think I kind of didn't. I didn't cue you to where my brain had went. But I mean, in terms of like looking at it like as a kind of profession necessarily, like it's. I think there's a little bit of chain to it, and like especially in like the world of writing, for example, I know there's plenty of authors who I've never heard the names of who make a living off their writing. I'm like, I don't.
NSFW.
Well,
sorry.
I mean, yes, there's plenty of those.
Did you see that post the other day of it wasn't strictly for writing, but it made me laugh, and it is true, and I think it gets more shame than it's due, as it was, oh, I've decided to like create comics for a living. How should I do that? It's like all these other options that I don't know if it was a pie chart or something like that, but it was like these options, and then it was the character in the comics like, oh, I know, I'll just create NSFW content. It's like, yeah, I mean,
if you're willing to draw furry porn, people pay through the nose.
Freaking Quentin Tarantino was it Quentin Tarantino and Rob Zombie, or was it just Rob Zombie? I know there's multiple people in the entertainment industry that have like worked in the porn industry, not necessarily as actors or like writers or producers, but like as just, I don't know if it was to get the foot in the door or just do whatever to make ends meet. But I think this is like way back in the day, but I think Rob Zombie like would cut together and like edit porn mags before, like, and he was the guy that was just like, here's these pictures, all right, here's these words, and he would like glue them to pages and then put them through, and like that's how they print them out, because this is like back in the day. It was like in the like 80s, before there was like computer, like before you'd like set it up on a computer. Like you had to very much do it by hand. So I mean, like, there's nothing, we're not, it's funny.
I'm not
and
saying
usually,
go into the porn industry, but
yeah, not saying go into the porn industry, but also, I mean, we're not shitting on it either. Yeah. Well, a job's a job, and also if that's what you love, we're not here to yuck anybody's yum or anything like that. It's like, if that's what you want to do, if that's what you want to create, you shouldn't be sad about it.
No.
I don't know that you necessarily want to go out, with a banner that says that, because the amount of responses may or may not be the best. But, you do you.
I think the last little note I will give this particular topic is there was somebody that I worked with, and she had a friend who wrote effectively smut and published it. Bitch was making like $15,000 a month. And she
clean and hope.
Yeah, and like she'd basically just write out like, have like 2 weeks and write like 10,000 words a week, which is a fair amount, and then she'd edit for a week and submit it and just have a week off. And that was her schedule. Like, she'd basically just writing erotic novellas and making bank. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah.
What have I done wrong with my life? I'm making $180K a year. Jesus.
with what is that?
3
months off a year. 3 months off a year. Yeah.
Just a casual fucking 3 months off annually. All right. And like, she didn't have a contract too, so she could just be like, I'm good for a month.
Yeah.
All right, just take a month. Fuck it. Why not? Like,
teachers ain't got shit on me.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you can get that bread, get that bread.
Get that paper.
But I mean, the other flip side of the coin, if we want to go to it, is kind of why we sort of touched a little bit on it with the people that are going to make it, like, no, don't try, and if you're going to make it, you're going to do it regardless of what I say. Like, so I mean, what kind of reasons do you have for following for writing, for following a passion, Isaac?
So for me, hold on, I need to look up a word. I'm gonna see if this. No, that doesn't
Doesn't do what you want it to.
I was thinking indemnification. That's not correct. It's the compensation for harm or loss. So that's not exactly what I'm
that sounds
for.
like an indemnity clause.
Yeah, actually, exactly that. And this is why Google is a great invention, folks, and I recommend using it. One of like the big things that kind of fills up my cup is not only, and this is one that I kind of need to not walk away from, but I need to put less weight on, is the kind of reaction from other people reading it is like a big, like is like really satisfying when somebody reads it and says good things about it. But I think that's basically everybody.
Everyone does love that sense of approval. Yeah.
Yeah. But that one's a little bit dangerous, and I'm starting to like dial that one back. For me, it's creation. And it's like having something that you've made that was yours is really satisfying. You know, you get to feel like a percentage of an ounce of what God felt like when he created man. It's just like, this is me, baby. Like it's like he had to feel great. Just be like, look at all. Yeah. The reason he slept because he was like, oh yeah, he was just like fully satisfied. Right. So it's very satisfying, like creating this own world that is just wholly yours. Bringing your thoughts to page and having it. I'm a huge fan of dialogue, and so creating punchy dialogue that you always wish you could say in the moment, but either it was inappropriate, you couldn't think that fast, you don't want to piss somebody off, whatever, and have two characters talk that way on the page is it really is, very heartwarming.
Yeah, it can be very gratifying.
Yeah, it's super gratifying. You're just like, yeah, give it to them. Like, these are both characters you wrote, but it's just like, it's still awesome when you come up with good lines and like back and forth like a tennis match that you're orchestrating. Like, yeah, it's not organic because I mean, like you created it effectively in a lab, so to speak, but it's still awesome. And this one might be a little bit kind of petty, but it is like one of the things that keeps it's like one of the bedrocks of my oil tank is that there's so much work out there that sucks. And I'm just like, I can do fucking better than you, and I'm going to. I don't know if it's the healthiest thing, but it does, it can just kind of, it rattles the cage enough sometimes that it wakes up the beast inside me and helps me kind of get back out there to fight.
Sure. I mean, I can relate to that one, especially because I've had the exact same thought. I remember reading some of 50 Shades of Grey and going, "Holy fuck, this is garbage."
I think that one, and that's I think that's a talk for a different time about kind of fair and unfair criticism of like what is and what isn't art. But in the defense of that and it's the vampire one that Twilight. Is like somewhat correlated with that one. I look up the backstory between those two because I know there's a correlation, but like it's I don't know it's funny and fair, but at the same time it's not. Yeah.
It's absolutely fair. They're not well written. Yep. Content aside, they're garbage literarily. Like from a literary standpoint, they're not good. Like it's like high school writing. Like
yeah, but I mean, like I think one of them was fan fiction, or maybe both of them were.
I don't give a fuck what it came from. Like just, if I didn't like something. And someone, but you have to like it. That kid in the cardboard box wrote it. Like, why should where it comes from change my opinion of it? If it's bad, it's bad. Like,
well, I think there's some context to it. It's not like it was written and then published. It's not like somebody who was, if Stephen King wrote it, like there's vitriol that would be, because of like what he'd previously written. It would be like, wow, dude, you're doing so much worse. Literally. Like and literarily, you're just doing so much worse than you have been. But it's like, yeah, it's I don't know. I guess it's just like some of where it comes from to me makes a bit of a difference of how much kind of ire it receives.
I think sure. Like I understand there's certain things that need to be given some leniency, and there's certain things that should be given kind of some good graces, some not amnesty. That's not the right word, but like tolerance. But
Mm-hmm.
and it's like so. For me, a lot of people rip on those books for their content, right? And I think that's kind of an unfair thing to assault. Like for example, no. So
there's one of them I would disagree with.
I think I might touch on.
Yeah.
But like for example, in 50 Shades of Grey, a lot of people really fucking hate it because it basically describes sexual assault. And it's like
not basically. It describes sexual assault.
It describes sexual assault. He ignores the safe word.
That's rape.
Yeah, like that's sexual assault teetering into rape world real quick. And it like just kind of glosses over like that's totally chill. And it's really not. That's really not okay. You heard it here, folks. Rape bad.
Rape. Not okay. We're taking a stand on this one.
Yeah. But it's like just because that's in the book, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad book. Like you can have horrifying scenes in a great book. I like something like one of the things Stephen King talks about is he talks about like if you have a racist person or a really bigoted person, like if you have someone who's really homophobic, he's gonna call someone a faggot. Like, let's call a spade a spade. He's gonna do it if he's a bastard.
Yep.
And some people will not like that. But it makes sense. Like, it's okay. And so if you have an egotistical rich dude, like you do in 50 Shades of Grey, yeah, maybe he won't take hearing the word no. Okay. That's not my problem. My problem is its writing is actual garbage. It's not good. Like its prose is terrible. Its flow is not great. It over embellishes all the wrong things in my opinion. It's too explicit for its own good. It's not good writing.
I think this is something we can go over in a future week and talk about like at more length.
I went way too into that. I apparently have some issues pent up.
Writing down, need to talk about therapist about 50 Shades of Grey.
Exactly.
One of the problems I have with 50 Shades of Grey before we close this book on it for the time being is the fact that I have no problem with him. This sounds bad. I have no problem with him raping that poor girl. It's the fact that it's the fact that the universe it's in says it's okay because there are no ramifications of it. None of the characters, like, she just, from what I've heard, I haven't bothered reading it, so I could be wrong. However, know and have friends that are in like the BDSM community and the community at large was very affronted by it, is my understanding, because that happens. Not okay, and very much not what they're about. And sadly, a lot of the world kind of looks to that book as if an example, which is their and its problem. But the fact that then through the rest of the series, it's not like he gets arrested. She never talks to anybody about it. It happens. She's left to accept it, and he never sees a problem with it, is the information that I've been relayed. And if that is indeed correct, that's horrifying. Because in everything else you've probably ever read, there are some exceptions, but by and large, a character does a negative act and at some point has to pay a consequence or is seen as a bad guy. This guy has none of those incursions happen. He's never seen as a bad guy. He's never taken to task for it. She doesn't actually feel bad about it, I think. And so, like, you've created this bad thing that happened in a realistic scenario about a subject that people are flippant on and are maybe going to go try, and this is their only example. If it was, I think it's not even book 1, too, which I think is like one of the big parts for me, is it happens like book 2 or 3. It's like
I think it's in book 1.
I'm like
90% sure it's in book 1.
Either way, there should be at some point a ramification or a light showing that as bad. If he doesn't get punished, he doesn't get punished. But to pretend like it's normal and okay. Like there's for your universe, not for like the character. Like Eli was saying, you know, a homophobic character says faggot. We know it's bad because of like the world it's projected in and the world we live in is like so similar.
And normally you're probably not going to be rooting for the homophobic fella.
Yeah. There's going to be like circumstantial evidence for you to understand as the reader that is not okay. Whether he gets punished, whether the other characters don't know it's okay, is quasi-irrelevant. But at some way, the reader needs to know that's not acceptable. Or that's not, that you're not celebrating this behavior. The readers of, your average reader of these books don't know that because they don't know anything about the world and it's not explicitly presented in the book. That is like, for me, the major like content problem.
Sure.
The fact that it's written bad, yes, that is bad. I haven't read it, so I don't know how bad. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that at a different time. So should we throw it to our ad break and come back with our recs and upcoming projects?
Let's do it.
Okay. Have you ever wanted to care more about a relationship that didn't exist than your own, which is tenuous at best?
Uh-huh.
Do you want to see couples with worse interpersonal communications than your own?
Yes, desperately.
Try dramas. With the low cost of thinning hairlines, 10 hours a season, and difficult to rationalize sexual circumstances, drama will keep you thinking about your own stupid life for at least 1 hour a week. And we hath returned.
Welcome
before
back.
Before we go too far along with your regular, what are words?
Regularly.
Before we continue on too far with your regularly scheduled programming, we have some addendums to last week's episode. First off, the movie with dancing that I was trying to remember the name of and couldn't is called Climax. Highly recommend it. And the other one is that the crocodile I was thinking of isn't actually from Australia. He is from the Nile. He is called Gustav. And is rumored to have killed as many as 300 people.
Jesus Christ.
Body count. He's also apparently somewhere between 66 and 67. So this retiree ain't going out softly into that good night. As many people of Egypt would prefer. Yeah, exactly. Still making them snipes from that wheelchair.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He's not been captured. Easily more than 18 feet long. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, he's estimated probably no older than 60 and likely still growing. Oh God, fuck the
one of the many reasons not to visit. Anyway,
such a baller name.
Also kind of weird for the name of a crocodile in Egypt is Gustav.
Yeah, nothing Arabic, just fucking weird, like Western Europeans. Gustav. Natural.
He hurts our people like Whitey used to. Let's give him a white man name. I don't know. Something that inspires mustache twirling. Gustav.
Oh boy.
My Egyptian accent was pretty on point there, I must admit.
Your Egyptian accent sounded like it came from fucking Mars. Speaking of things that hurt people.
Nice transition.
Thank you. Seamless.
I'm in for it.
No one will know. I've been writing a short story the last week and a half. I kind of ran with
So you're taking a break from writing clockwork like clockwork?
Get out. Yes, Clockwork is sitting for a moment. I work on the running title is Pills and Poison. And it is. I thought of the idea of the kind of drug addicted hitman and went from his perspective, not from someone else being hunted by said person, but from how a former kind of intelligence operator could work under and kind of use some of that guise of not looking the part anymore. Not being this big burly put together dude, but this kind of sickly looking junkie, for lack of a better term. And I actually reached out to my buddy in the military because I was curious how much of this sort of thing happens. And his rough conclusion is that probably not Jason Bourne level, but there's probably stuff. There's probably like assassinations and covert things like that happen all the time that we never know about.
Yep.
It's like, terrifying.
I mean, as stupid as it was, an eye-opening idea of that is like Google MK Ultra.
Oh yeah, no, it's phenomenal.
It really happened.
Yeah,
they tried putting undercover agents on like crazy amounts of drugs to see what it could
just
do.
See what it would do to you.
Yeah,
see for mind control. Yeah. And so it's been...
And that's what we know about because of, like, leaks and bad plans and all that shit. It's just like, oh, wow, that's terrifying.
Yeah. And so that's what I've been working on. It's been kind of interesting to write for someone who used to be, physically astute and at the top of their game, to be kind of working handicapped, and they knowingly kind of handicapped themselves. And so instead of being able to go and just guns a-blazing and use brawn, it's like, well, have to resort back to kind of trickery and be smart about it.
Now, are you writing this for anything in particular, or is this just you, or is there like a writing competition or something that you're going to submit it for?
It's all me. I think I must have told you why I love saying that.
No.
This is the best TSA story ever. My buddy going through TSA.
Oh yeah.
Got flagged. My buddy. He's half black, and of course he gets flagged for a fucking pat down because.
Racial profiling in America. You don't say.
No way. And he's getting pat down. Run hands along his sides, and then hand up the side of the leg, on the inside of the leg, and they tap something on his thigh. He goes, "What's that?" And my dude's just like, "That's all me, baby."
I've seen videos of the like, not obviously from that incident, but from others where it's hung gentleman is handled inappropriately, and the TSA agent, male and or female, like will look up at them, and the person just gives them this like grin of like, "What up, dog?"
Like, don't be jealous.
we gonna shake hands after this too? Like, where's this going? It's always good too, because you like 90% of the time the one being fondled is not okay with it, but kind of making the best of it, and the fondler is either immediately like dropped it like it's
immediately horrified.
Yeah, or they're just kind of like bemused and have this like shy shame smile going on. It's great.
Just love. That's on me, baby. It's like what else is he gonna tell him? Like.
It's laundry day.
Yeah, so this is just I got the idea and just went, I'm having a little issues writing Clockwork. Let's just try it. Let's just roll with it, and it felt pretty good to do.
Nice. Is the only reason I asked is because for the audience out there, we've been talking about and looking at this for the last couple weeks in our writers' meetings. And you were concerned about word count, so I thought there was maybe some kind of submission that you were like kind of aiming for.
Not like, so there are like magazines I'd like to submit this to, like do anthology publications, and that's why the word count. But there's no specific event prompting it.
Okay. So it's meant to be published for others, but nothing in particular is being aimed at.
There isn't like a specific thing I'm hoping to submit it to or competition or anything like that.
All right, cool. So you're currently at 12 pages, give or take, right now, correct?
Yes.
Thereabouts. How much longer are you kind of aiming for this to be?
So it looks like it's sitting about 5,100 words. Scheisse. Because I think I want to keep it under 6,000, so another page or two.
Okay.
Not much more. So I think I'm down to like one last scene, and then I call it a wrap on it.
Sweet. So potentially could do a table read for the podcast in 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. And like I said, I have been reading this and it is quite a banger. Literally and figuratively.
Oh, well, thank you. What have you been working on?
I've been working on something that I just shared with you called the mediocre working title right now is Vampire Bar Bet, which involves vampires having a bet at a bar. Whoa!
What? No way!
So innovative this time.
It's a novelty.
At least yours is doing the same relative premise with the working title, but at least yours sounds mildly astute and has like nefarious intrigue.
It's
this
got
is
intrigue
just this is fuck all going on.
Sounds like the drunk concoction of a goth kid in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, my punk band's called Vampire Bar Bet. We're gonna only play at bars that'll let you to bet on vampire fights.
Stop.
Okay,
Stop.
so you're not going to play at any bars?
Backpedal. Stop. Bit needs to die. Stop.
So the story is Ashna. So vampires live for a bajillion million years. Yeah, it's solved for X. Goes to his favorite bar, and his favorite bartendress is there, doing what she does best, tending bar and throwing out drunks. And they've known each other for years and have created this very kind of sweet patron establishment sort of relationship. And then an old and friend of ill repute, Castell, shows up at the bar and wants to play this game that Ashnod's really not in the mood for, where they play games and the loser gets stabbed. And Valerie, for some reason, wants to play. She doesn't want to get left out.
It's a nice light stabbing.
Yeah, nice little light shanking, your neighborhood bar.
Little poke. Little tap. little tap, taparoo.
And much to Ashnod's chagrin and Costell's giddy, Valerie wants to play despite, trying to be dissuaded by Ashna. And the game ends up playing out and she's losing. Ashna's trying to kind of get in the way of some of her losses so she doesn't get stabbed as much, as he's a vampire and she's a human being. And he doesn't want to see her hurt because he cares for her. And after a series of bets go on, Costell has to go off to the bathroom or whatever reason. I think bathroom just because it's kind of funnier, the idea of, vampires do have to pee too. And comes back and loses his first bet. Oh no, he's going to get stabbed, he says. Whatever. Well, he's going to get stabbed, but not where he thinks and not by what he thinks. Turns out, I think the initial write-up was that Valerie was going to be a bounty hunter, but I think now I'm just making it a personal grievance. But either way, she has been lying in wait, working at this bar because Ashna had been coming there was a patron, and that she knew that Costell was a friend of hers, and she assumed that the easiest way would be to just lie in wait and pounce when he arrived. And she stabs him with a stake as her weapon of choice. Ashna doesn't get involved, partially because he is not exactly in love with the friendship of this old salt, and partially because it's within the rules. There is no rule that says you have to choose what you get stabbed by or where you get stabbed. and very much this is a kind of fun toying with the whole, kind of words meaning what they do, and like there's a lot of Merriam-Webstering going on in this piece. But I just finished writing out the kind of bare bones kind of summary over this last week, which was a blasty blast. And over the next week or two, I think I'm going to be writing and editing it down to something a little bit more ready for the camera.
Nice.
And then also we can do a table read of that when it is ready.
Yes. And speaking of the supernatural, and
this kid and his transitions, I tell you, folks,
a bit grim. Hey man, it's like we planned it or something. My rec of the week is actually a horror movie I'd never heard of, called Ghost Stories, and it's a British horror movie that my wife suggested kind of on a whim. It's fucking great, actually. And its main premise is that your main character is this professor who goes and debunks psychics and phony people of that nature who are just exploiting people. And there is someone who's done that in America, and I can't remember the name, but very.
Hold on, you continue. I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
He offers $10,000 if people are actually legit.
Went up to $1 million. But, yeah,
casual. Okay, a big brick of money if you can actually be a legit magician or psychic, and it's not just fucking parlor tricks. And so he gets this package. And it's from who he kind of sees as a bit of a mentor, and it says that there's these 3 cases that prove that the supernatural is real. And so it kind of turns into this like 3 almost mini horror movies that are recounts from these 3 people, and how they tied it. And it's actually really good because they're pretty compressed, but it does a really good job for each of them creating really dark atmosphere and fucking with you. And it does a good break of convention, like on the 3rd when you expect something different, and sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. It's just really well done. And Martin Freeman's in it, fucking kills it. Dude is amazing. It's really good.
That's awesome.
And it's pretty short. Like, the movie does not just putz about and fuck around on weird imagery or drag slow motion, and no, it's got places to be.
That's so cool. So the guy you were alluding to is James Randi. Yeah, he was a Canadian magician and like debunker, if you will. Yeah. And initially, I'm trying to find what year it was that he offered this. Yeah, I think it started off as $10,000, and I believe it was of his own money.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, 1 second. He was on the Tonight Show. He got sued. Uri Geller tried to sue him.
Wonder how that went.
Yeah, it got thrown out. But yeah, he challenged a bunch of like people. There's a couple movies about it. I'm trying to remember what the one that I saw. There's one that I got shown in school, which is really cool. I don't remember. Probably one of his later ones. Anyway, I want to say it's like Psychic Investigator was James Randi Psychic Investigator. But yeah, it got up to $1 million. And yeah, he took on lots of people. He sadly died in 2020. But yeah, all around, really cool dude, and very much, did this thing of just going around and being like, Like, this is bullshit. One of the ones that he debunked that I think is a beautiful, like, there's some of them that, people want to believe in magic. I feel like it's hokey enough that the people that are going to get tricked, it's like, okay, I don't want to say you deserved it, but yeah, maybe. There's a couple other, and maybe it's because of our raising that I feel like it's a little bit more heinous than the others, which was, there's a pastor that was doing it at like these huge congregations, and he had an earpiece in.
He's had an earpiece, and he's got like his wife reading him.
His wife would go out and talk to people on their way in, find out what their problems were, and then wear an earpiece and then talk to him,
feed him information,
be like, okay, you're looking for this person, this, and like you'd give him a little bit of clues. And he basically, it was the funniest debunking, because I think he was talking about on the Johnny Carson show, he went in and just he was like, I'm pretty sure I'm figuring out, he like, the guy's really smart and like had been, he was a stage magician and been tricking people for a long time. And so he kind of knew the ins and outs of this general idea. And so he was like, okay, how would they do this? He figured radio. And so he put it on and he was just skipping through radio channels. It's like, he just found it. It's like, yeah, so unless God talks to him with his wife's voice on radio channel 3, like, I think this is bullshit. Great line.
Yeah, actually, the opening to Ghost Stories is a scene very much like that, actually.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, because I know exactly what you're talking about, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's great. Give it a watch.
Also, fun fact before we move on, Houdini used to do that towards the end of his career. Because Houdini was very much like about, he was doing magic, didn't want you to show how it was done, but he never claimed to be like a celestial being or anything like that. It was all just like, this is me, I'm doing this trick, I'm awesome, Yeah. And yeah, he went around and like started debunking stuff, which is, I think, kind of where Randy was like kind of picking that idea up of just like, look, magic's meant to wow, not to like make you believe in something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's not meant to offer false hope.
Yeah. No magician's like, oh yeah, like I'm in touch with Cthulhu. They don't want you to believe there's something like beyond them. It's just like, yeah, I'm awesome. Like, I've tricked you. Congratulate, are you gonna, am I going to tell you how?
I've done a thing you can't explain.
No.
Deal with it.
Deal with it. And to move on, like we were just talking about, no, I'm not going to try and do that transition. That's more your bag. Screw it. I'm off it. My rec of the week is Minari. It's, I believe, won at least one Oscar a year or two ago. And it's about a Korean family moving to the South. I don't think like the deep South, but like the kind of like Mississippi, Carolinas. Oklahoma, or something like that. Yeah, something a little bit norther than that, and starting a farm.
Huh.
And it is for being such a basic story, it pulls at your heartstrings. It's really beautiful. It's shot exquisitely, which is really fun because that's one of the things that they kind of, sadly, as much as I love living on the West Coast, I live in Los Angeles. I've lived all over California. The state slaps. There's a reason you pay so much to live here. And in my opinion, it's worth it. But there are other beautiful places in this great country and in on this planet Earth. And it's really nice to have them showcased and like to stop kind of pretending that this is the only beautiful place. It kind of in a different way. Like one of my favorite things about the show Justified, it was that it showed yokels being smart. There was a lot of people talking in this kind of country folksy way, and they weren't idiots. There were some that were, and there were plenty that weren't. And to have that kind of yokel intelligent, like have that yokel mouth, but that very intelligent brain is a beautiful thing to see. And the same kind of goes for me with Minari. It's like the setting, yeah, it's in the South, but also, and it's like some like podunk little makeshift farm. It's awesome. And it doesn't try, like most characters have a blemish in one way or another. They each have like their own kind of failing, but they're still kind of beautiful in their own way. Like one of their neighbors is this freaking religious nutter. Like, like he's just like,
absolutely psycho.
Oh, just like absolutely bananas for Jesus. But it's in this way that like, yeah, he's weird, but it's still kind of beautiful. It starts off the young boy that he's not, I wouldn't say the family is the main character and they're each their own component. But the young boy that's kind of from his perspective, he like wets the bed. You know, the grandma's old and weird. The mom is like really like prickly and kind of, you know, has an attitude. Like every character has a failing and so many strengths, and it's so just it's perfect in its reality. All of these characters are ones that you can imagine existing. There's no one that's like, oh, this one's the problem, or this one, you know, like they're each doing something and they are bringing some component to this, you know, just wow, words. I had a really great thing there. Shit. But they all are making this difficult and easy on each other simultaneously. And the story is just, there's no big moments. I mean, there are big moments, but in a way that you can imagine them happening in your life. And I think that's like one of the things that I really enjoy seeing. As much as I do like writing big bombastic stories, it is really nice to kind of remind us that there is a normal reality.
No.
And that it's not so bad to just live that. And like that there are big things that have happened in our life, you know? Like there's nothing that happens that's supernatural in this movie. There's nothing outlandish. Like everybody's experienced a moment as like the biggest moment in this. Everybody's experienced a moment as big, if not bigger than it. And it's just kind of awesome to keep it that believable, that kind of down to earth.
That
and
grounded.
Yet, that grounded, and have it still be moving. And still have it like kind of take you on this journey to the point where you're not thinking about anything, but you're just being sucked into this. It's just awesome. Jesus. Oh boy.
So good. I had to do it.
We got to get you to therapy. Well, that's our episode, I guess. Thank you for tuning in. And if you like this, please feel free to
like,
comment,
share,
subscribe.
And don't forget, new episodes of Super Pros Bros come out the first and third Saturday of every month.
Bye.